Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Belinda Langner, and I am a group product manager working on Google's app ad solutions across Android and iOS. We're here today to share with you how Google is helping our community prepare for Apple's iOS 14 App Tracking Transparency, or ATT, changes, because we know that developers and advertisers in the iOS ecosystem are still figuring out how to adapt. We'll start by covering how Google is complying with Apple's ATT policies and sharing some things to consider as you evaluate whether or not ATT is right for your app. Then, we'll jump into more details about how you can set yourself up for success ahead of the ATT policy rollout with measurement, campaign management, and bidding tips. Finally, we'll share how you can get the most of your iOS app campaigns performance after Apple's policies go into effect, how to interpret new insights, and how conversion modeling makes it all possible. So let's get going. Apple's upcoming ATT policy will require developers to ask for permission when they use certain information from other companies' apps and websites for advertising purposes, even if they already have user consent. When Apple's policy goes into effect, we will no longer use information such as IDFA that falls under ATT for the handful of our iOS apps that we currently use for advertising purposes. As such, we will not show the ATT prompt on those apps in line with Apple's guidance. At the same time, we know that many of you are still evaluating whether ATT is right for your app or game. So here are some things for you to consider. We encourage you to review Apple's documentation and the applicable laws and regulations to determine whether implementing the ATT framework is right for your app. We want to give advertisers and developers choice, and our ad solutions will work for you regardless of whether or not you choose to use ATT. If you choose to implement ATT, we highly recommend testing the best way to do so. Apple allows you to customize the text string in the ATT consent box to encourage users to opt in. So pay close attention to the text wording to find out what resonates best with your app's users. You may also want to experiment with showing an explainer message prior to the ATT prompt with details about how opting in to personalized ads can improve your user's experience. This can help you prime your users to respond more positively to your request for tracking permission. If you use AdMob or Ad Manager to monetize your apps, you can check out our Funding Choices feature for a way to implement and manage these explainer messages. If you do not use AdMob or Ad Manager, Firebase is another solution that offers an in-app messaging solution that you can use to craft your explainer messages. Finding the right solution for your unique app requires coordination, time, and resources. So we encourage you to start this process as soon as possible. So we've covered how Google is complying with Apple's ATT policies and shared some things for you to consider in whether or not you implement ATT and how you might go about doing this in your own apps. Now, we're going to move on to the second section about preparing your app and campaigns for Apple's upcoming ATT policy rollout, starting with SKAdNetwork. SKAdNetwork is Apple's new framework to verify installs from various ad networks where you promote your app. Regardless of whether you choose to show an ATT prompt, data from SKAdNetwork can help you more accurately measure your iOS campaign performance. You can easily implement SKAdNetwork by upgrading to the latest version of Google Analytics for Firebase. This will automatically register your apps for SKAdNetwork attribution, and if you're showing ATT, it will also help you measure first open conversions for consented users. Alternatively, you can use another SDK that supports SKAdNetwork or implement Apple's SKAdNetwork API yourself. If you use Google Analytics for Firebase on iOS 14, you should consider updating Apple's app privacy details based on the information you plan to collect through Google Analytics and for what purposes. Some optional features, such as customized settings to share data with Google Analytics, will require additional app privacy details in your App Store listing. You should review these optional features to understand how they might impact data disclosures for your app on iOS 14. Once you're ready with SK Ad Network, we have tips on campaign management and bidding that can help you with a smoother transition when the ATT policies go into effect. First, you should consolidate to 8 or fewer app install campaigns for each of your iOS apps to maintain optimal performance due to SK Ad Network's campaign limitation. For each ad campaign that you create, you can control how much you're willing to spend on conversions, which networks and geographical locations you want your ads to show on, and more. As you consolidate your campaigns, consider moving assets from campaigns with similar targeting and goals into ad groups. So let's walk through an example. Let's say that you have a handful of campaigns targeting English-speaking users in specific countries with an identical TCPI or target cost per install goal. You can create a single English language campaign with those same goals, the same target cost per install and settings, and set up multiple ad groups. You can then port the creative assets from your previous standalone campaigns into these ad groups. Remember that the purpose of an ad group is to enable you to try out different thematic variations for your creatives and your ad messaging, all under the roof of the same campaign. By leveraging ad groups, you will achieve the same goals as before, but within a condensed campaign structure. Today, we report conversions at the ad group level, and we will continue to do so after Apple's ATT policies go into effect. But due to SK Ad Network limitations, we will no longer be able to attribute some of your iOS conversions to the exact ad group that led to these conversions. We will rely on conversion modeling, which we will cover later in this video, to assign credit to the ad group that our machine learning determines to be the most likely source of the conversion. Next, if you're participating in our beta for TROAS, or Target Return on Ad Spend campaigns for iOS, you should pause these campaigns and revert to TCPA, or Cost Per Action campaigns. We encourage you to adopt these changes now so you're ready when Apple's policy changes go into effect. We've covered now how to think about ATT and steps that you can take to set up your app for success ahead of the upcoming ATT policy rollout. Now we're going to jump into the final section about what you can expect when Apple's new policies go into effect and how to understand and use the new iOS 14 reporting insights. After Apple's ATT policies go into effect, your iOS app campaigns are likely to see fluctuations in campaign volume. And if you're running app campaigns for engagement, you will see a significant decrease in reach. We encourage you to closely monitor the traffic and performance of all of your iOS app campaigns, and if necessary, adjust budgets and bids to achieve your goals. If you want to view the reporting data for SK Ad Network specifically, you can view this in the Google Ads front end by navigating to Reporting, Other, Scan Conversions after Apple's ATT policies go into effect. This SK Ad Network reporting data will also be available in the Google Ads API in the upcoming months. You'll also see a change in the way Google Ads reports on conversions. In reporting, we will be expanding model conversions, which are currently only on search, to other channels as well. This means that your conversion column, as well as your install, in-app action, and conversion value columns, may contain modeled conversions. If you run display, video, and other campaigns promoting web-based conversion goals, you may see performance fluctuations as Apple's ATT policies go into effect. During this time, we will be expanding modeled conversions to more iOS 14 traffic. Modeled conversions use aggregate and anonymized data to attribute conversions that advertisers aren't able to observe directly. When cookies or other identifiers like IDFAs aren't observable, it may not be possible for you to measure some conversions. This can happen when there are blind spots, such as cross-device conversions. Google Ads currently models conversions that should be attributed to clicks and to views, but might go unobserved due to various limitations. Through model conversions, these unobserved clicks and views get included in your account's reports along with the observed conversions. And you might be asking yourself how this all works. So let's talk a little bit more about that. If conversions can't be observed because of partial and missing conversion data, Google's machine learning will identify portions of traffic with known observed conversions and apply statistical techniques to portions of traffic where there is only partial data or where data is missing. Modeled conversions use observable signals, including conversion data from users who consent to ATT, to create an accurate, privacy-safe, and aggregate view of user behavior. iOS 14's restrictions on IDFA access can make it increasingly more likely that a subset of conversions from your app can't be observed. And when that is the case, conversion modeling uses machine learning to quantify the impact of your ads and offer a more complete report of your conversions. Conversion modeling also provides a number of other benefits to your marketing efforts. It can give you a more accurate picture of advertising outcomes across all of your ads traffic, paint a holistic picture of your users' conversion paths, and help your campaigns bid more efficiently. So that wraps up what we wanted to share with you today to prepare for the upcoming iOS 14 changes. We are grateful to be with you on this journey together, and we look forward to partnering with you all in this next chapter of how the ads ecosystem evolves and adapts. Please make sure to join us again over the next few months as we continue to share updates, best practices, and the latest iOS campaign management, bidding, and measurement innovations with you. We will be hosting more Ads on Air webinars to give you more under-the-hood details on our approach to conversion modeling. We'll also host a webinar in March to share how Google's marketing teams are preparing for the ATT policy rollout. Thank you for joining us today.